Hey there, Magic players. Jeremiah here. Welcome back to the High Powered Hobby YouTube channel. We've got another exciting 4-player Commander game for you guys. My play group and I had a really big turnout for the last time we got together to play Magic. So we were playing 2 separate Commander pods in the same room as each other. So the audio quality of this video was terrible. So I'm going to be doing all of the voiceover for the entire thing. First up is Kyle. He's playing Abdel, Adrian, Gorian's Ward. It's a 4/4 for 5 mana that's got a wicked ETB. When it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you control until Abdel leaves the battlefield, and you create a 1/1 soldier for each thing you exiled this way. It also has a background, Candlekeep Sage. Commander creatures you own have, when this creature enters or leaves the battlefield, draw a card. Kyle built this deck to flicker his commander over and over again, drawing cards, making tokens, and just taking a ton of game actions. Jeremiah, who is me, I'm playing my mono red burn deck. I played this on the very first video of our channel, and I literally haven't played it since. But my commander is Solphim, Mayhem, Dominus. He's a 5/4 for 4 mana. If a source I control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage to that player or permanent instead. I could also pay some mana or some life, discard some cards, and make him indestructible. This deck is just classic burn. I'm going to try and deal as much non-combat damage to my opponents as possible. Dustin is playing Shalai and Hallar. He's played this deck a couple of times on our channel. It's a 3/3 flying vigilant creature for 4 mana. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, Shalai and Hallar deal that much damage to target opponent. This is a great +1/+1 counter matter deck. He puts a bunch of counters on his creatures and he deals you damage. Adam is playing Xenagos, God of Revels. It's a 6/5 indestructible enchantment god for 5 mana. Sometimes it's a creature, sometimes it's not. Most of the time, it's not. It has, at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is that creature's power. This is a classic Gruul big creature stompy deck. His plan is to ramp out some big creatures, make them bigger, and swing. Now, with the deck intros out of the way, let's get into the game. Kyle won the die roll, so he'll be going first. Turn 1. Kyle plays an island and passes. Jeremiah plays a Den of the Bugbear untapped and passes. Dustin plays a Temple of Triumph tapped, scrying 1 to the bottom and passes. Adam plays a Rugged Highland tapped, gaining 1 life and passes turn. Turn 2, Kyle plays a Plains, taps for 2, casts an Ichor Wellspring, drawing a card on ETB and passes turn. Jeremiah plays a Mountain, taps 2 for a Humble Defector, which has tap, draw 2 cards, target opponent gains control of Humble Defector. Activate only during your turn, and then he passes his turn. Dustin plays a Command Tower, taps 2 for a Strionic Resonator, which is an artifact with pay 2 and tap, copy target triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy, and then he passes turn. Adam plays a Gruul Guildgate tapped, and passes turn. Turn 3, Kyle plays a Haloed Fountain untapped, paying 2 life, then pays 3 to cast his background Candlekeep Sage, and then he passes. Jeremiah plays a Study Hall as land for turn, taps Humble Defector to draw 2 cards, and gives it to Dustin. Then he taps 3 mana for Sulfuric Vortex, which reads, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, Sulfuric Vortex deals 2 damage to that player. If a player would gain life, that player gains no life instead. Then he passes turn. At the beginning of Dustin's upkeep, he takes 2 damage. He plays a basic Plains as land for turn, then he taps Humble Defector to draw 2 cards, and copies the ability with his Strionic Resonator to draw 2 more cards, after discarding down to hand size. Passes it over to Adam. Adam takes 2 damage on his upkeep, plays a Forest, taps 3 for a Worn Power Stone, an artifact that enters tapped and taps for 2. Adam chooses to hold on to the Humble Defector and passes to Kyle. Turn 4, Kyle takes 2 damage. He plays a Plains for turn, pays 3 mana for a different background, Inspiring Leader. Commander creatures you own have creature tokens you control get +2/+2, then passes turn. Jeremiah also takes 2 on his upkeep from his own enchantment. He plays a Cryptic Caves as land for turn, taps 4, kicking Everflowing Chalice for 2, and passes turn. Dustin takes 2, then he plays a mountain. Dustin doesn't realize he has all the colors to play his commander, but we let him anyway. Adam takes 2 damage, taps 5 for his commander, Xenagos, God of Rebels. Then he plays a Gruul Turf, returning a forest to his hand. Goes to combat, giving Humble Defector +2/+2, and swings at Kyle for 4 damage. No blocks, Kyle takes 4, and Adam passes turn. Turn 5, Kyle takes another 2 on upkeep. He plays an island for turn, pays 5 for his commander, Abdel, Adrian, Gorian's Ward, drawing a card from his background and exiling the Ichor Wellspring, creating 1/1/1 soldier, which is getting +2/+2. Then he passes turn. Jeremiah takes 2 damage and misses a land drop. He pays 4 for his commander, Solphim, Mayhem, Dominus, doubling his non-combat damage, and then he passes turn. Dustin takes 4 on his upkeep because the Solphim Mayhem Dominus doubles the damage from the Sulfuric Vortex. Dustin plays a Plains for turn, pays 4 to cast Mikaeus the Lunarch for X=3. So it enters with 3 +1/+1 counters and has tap, put a +1/+1 counter on Mikaeus, and tap, remove a +1/+1 counter from Mikaeus, and put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. Shalai and Hallar will see those 3 counters and deal 3 damage to Jeremiah, and then he passes the turn to Adam. Adam also takes 4 on his upkeep. He plays Kazandu Refuge as land for turn, and gains no life because of Sulfuric Vortex. He taps 6 to play Atali Primal Storm. Before combat, Dustin casts Swords to Plowshares, targeting Atali. Atali gets exiled, and again, Sulfuric Vortex stops the life gain. Only slightly disappointed, Adam taps Humble Defector to draw 2 cards, and then gives the turn to Kyle. Turn 6. Kyle takes 4. He plays an island and taps 3 for Ghostly Flicker, exiling his commander and his island, bringing back his Ichor Wellspring, drawing him a card. Then his commander will enter the battlefield and he'll draw off his background commander and exile his Ichor Wellspring, his token, and the Humble Defector, making 3 more tokens. Kyle then discards down to hand size and passes turn. On end step, Jeremiah casts Chain Lightning, targeting Kyle, dealing him 6 damage. On Jeremiah's upkeep, he'll deal 2 damage to himself. Trying not to miss another land drop, he casts Browbeat. Any player may have Browbeat deal 5 damage to them. If no one does, target player draws 3 cards. Kyle pays 2 and casts Counterspell, targeting Browbeat. Jeremiah really wants to draw some cards, so he casts Bolt Bend. Change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. He changes the target of Counterspell to Bolt Bend. Adam volunteers to take 10 damage, going down to 23. Jeremiah, disappointed about missing a land drop, swings at Adam for 5 commander damage, then passes turn. Dustin takes 4 damage on his upkeep. Then he plays a tapped Land War Reborn, which enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. Then he pays 5 for Cathar's Crusade. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. A very good and scary enchantment. Dustin will then tap his Mikaeus to put a counter on itself, dealing Jeremiah 1 damage, bringing him to 30, and will then proceed to attacking him for 3 commander damage, and then passing turn. Adam takes 4, going down to 14. He plays a tapped Myriad Landscape and immediately casts Zendikar Resurgent. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land could produce. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. With nothing else to do, he passes to Kyle. On end step, Kyle casts Suspend, targeting Jeremiah's commander. Jeremiah, feeling dumb for wasting his Bolt Bend, casts a Shock, targeting Kyle's commander, killing it. When it leaves the battlefield, Kyle will draw off his background, and the cards exiled underneath it will return to their owners. Jeremiah getting back his Humble Defector, and Kyle getting back his Ichor Wellspring, drawing another card. Finally, Suspend will resolve, exiling Jeremiah's commander, and he'll choose to send it to the command zone. Turn 7. Kyle takes 2 damage on his upkeep because Jeremiah's commander is no longer there. Then he plays an island for turn. He taps everything to recast his commander, exiling the Ichor Wellspring, drawing a card, and making a soldier. He will discard down to hand size and pass turn. Jeremiah takes 2, still trying to play another land, taps his Humble Defector to draw 2 cards, and hands it over to Adam. He finds a land, Ramunap Ruins. Recognizing that Kyle is tapped out, Jeremiah plays a Mana Geyser. With no responses, he adds 18 red mana to his mana pool. He uses 6 of it to recast his commander, pays 2 for Immolation Shaman that deals damage when someone uses an activated ability, another 2 for Kedis Emberclaw Familiar, which turns combat damage into non-combat damage for the opponents who weren't hit, another 2 mana for Cleansing Wildfire, targeting Kyle's Hallowed Fountain. Destroy target land. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Draw a card. Still going, Jeremiah will play an Arcane Signet. As a last trick, he'll use the rest of his mana into Jaya's Immolating Inferno, X=5, targeting each opponent. Jaya's Immolating Inferno deals X damage to each of up to 3 targets. With Jeremiah's commander out, that's 10 damage each, putting Kyle to 8, Dustin to 18, and Adam to 4. with Jeremiah still at 25. With nothing else to do, it's Dustin's turn. Dustin will take 4 on his upkeep, and then play a Gavany Township as land for turn, then taps 2 for Incubation Druid. When it enters, it will trigger a couple of things. First, grafting a +1/+1 counter onto it, sending a damage to Jeremiah. Then, putting a +1/+1 counter on each of Dustin's creatures, sending 3 more damage at Jeremiah. Then, plays Juniper Order Ranger, triggering Cathar's Crusade yet again, this time sending 4 damage at Jeremiah. Then, Dustin will tap Mikaeus to put a counter on each other creature he controls, taking 2 damage from Immolation Shaman, but also dealing Jeremiah another 3 damage. But he's not done. It's combat time. 6 commander damage in the air at Jeremiah, bringing him down to 8. Then he passes turn to Adam, who will die on his upkeep, taking 4 damage from Sulfuric Vortex. When Adam dies, gain control effects end, so Jeremiah will get back his Humble Defector. Turn 8. Kyle takes 4 and then plays a Plains for turn. He decides to keep his mana and blockers up and passes turn. Jeremiah takes 2 on his upkeep, then overloads a Mizium Mortars, dealing 4 damage to each creature his opponents control, which will be doubled to 8. Kyle has a response, Ghostway. Exile each creature you control. Return those creatures to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. His commander will leave play, drawing him a card, and his Ichor Wellspringer will return, drawing him an additional card, and all of his tokens will poof. Now it's combat time. With all the blockers out of the way, Jeremiah swings for the kill. His commander at Kyle, which will deal double damage to Dustin if it connects from his Kedis, which is also going at Kyle, and the Humble Defector at Dustin to finish him off. But we all know Kyle's got a response. Reality Shift, targeting Solphim, Mayhem, Dominus. Exile target creature, its controller manifests the top card of their library. So Jeremiah gets a 2/2, Kyle takes 1, and Dustin takes 2. Feeling defeated, Jeremiah passes to Dustin. On end step, Kyle's commander comes back, exiling some stuff, drawing a card, making 2 soldiers. Dustin takes 2 on upkeep, then pays 6 for his commander, triggering Cathar's Crusade, ultimately dealing Jeremiah a damage, and then passes the turn. On end step, Kyle casts Planar Incision, targeting his own commander. Exile target artifact or creature, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it, drawing cards and making 1 more soldier. Turn 9. Kyle takes 2, going to 1. He plays a Plains for turn, then goes to combat. 3 3/3 soldiers at Jeremiah, and his own 5/5 commander at Dustin. Jeremiah blocks 2 soldiers, taking 3, and Dustin declares no blockers, taking 5, putting Jeremiah to 2 and Dustin to 3. But Kyle's not done. He casts Out of Time with 8 creatures on the battlefield. When Out of Time enters the battlefield, untap all creatures, then those creatures phase out until Out of Time leaves the battlefield. Put a time counter on Out of Time for each creature that phased out this way. Then, because he can, Kyle plays a Soul Ring, then passes to Jeremiah. Jeremiah, about to die to his own Sulfuric Vortex, cracks his Cryptic Cave to look for an answer. There is no answer. Then, Jeremiah notices his Ramunap Ruins that can deal 2 damage to each opponent, which would kill Kyle, but kingmake Dustin. With no interest in kingmaking, he dies to his own Sulfuric Vortex. Dustin takes no damage on his upkeep and plays Hamza Guardian Arashin, which gets a counter. Then plays Temple of Plenty, scrying 1 to the top. Dustin passes turn. On end step, Kyle flashes in a Restoration Angel, choosing not to exile anything. Turn 10. Kyle will then proceed to his turn and swing at Dustin for 3 in the air, winning the game. This was a really fun game. Kyle's deck definitely made a lot of game actions, and you guys can feel free to make fun of me in the comments. All I had to do was not play that darn Arcane Signet and just played my Jaya's Immolating Inferno for more, and I would have won this game. I was just feeling greedy and I wanted to play all the cards in my hand. It's another benefit to having the life counter in the middle of the table, so you can see the life totals of everybody at the same time. We tend to just keep track of our own life totals when we play. I hope you guys liked today's video. If you did, I hope you hit the like button. Better yet, leave a comment. I love to read all of your guys' comments, and I respond to pretty much all of them. Let me know what you guys think about the voiceovering over the entire video. I'm hoping you guys think it's pretty cool, but it's definitely a lot more work. See you next time, Magic players.